Wu managed to get the money needed to pay for hospital treatment. But there is another problem, namely the hospital director tries to expel his family, so what happens next? Let's get started. The fat director groaned in pain when he felt his left hand burning. He panicked and asked what happened to his hand. Why did fire suddenly appear in his hand? The fat director panicked and left the room and looked for help to treat his hand. The doctor immediately approached Ye Wu and asked what the young man had done to the director. Why did the fat director's hand suddenly burn? Ye Wu replied casually that although the director had the authority to expel them, he had hurt his family, so it could not be tolerated. So that was a small punishment for the greedy director. Ye Wu asked the doctor not to worry because he was willing to pay an extra 10,000 yuan for their treatment and also for compensation. Ye Wu also said that if only the director had good ethics like their doctor, nothing would have happened. The doctor smiled awkwardly at Ye Wu's words. However, he actually thought that the cruel director deserved it. Moreover, the director was very arrogant and only saw profit in his eyes without having the slightest sense of humanity. The doctor hoped that the director would not dare to be evil again in the future. Ye Wu shows the doctor an account and says there is 310,000 in the account, so can the family continue treatment. The doctor answered that of course it was allowed. The doctor even said that although the hospital is expensive, the hospital never cheats. So Ye Wu's family will get the best treatment. Ye Wu thanked the doctor for being willing to believe him and giving him time to collect the money. Ye Wu honestly said he was very indebted to that doctor. The doctor asked Ye Wu not to thank him because this was an obligation that a doctor had to do. In his heart, the doctor was increasingly amazed at the young man in front of him. Apart from Ye Wu's very fast self-healing, the young man also managed to collect 300,000 yuan in a very short time. In his opinion, Ye Wu was very interesting. After the doctor left, Ye Yunfei apologized to her brother because I couldn't protect their parents. The girl's body even shook to hold back tears, realizing that she was currently so weak that she couldn't protect their parents. Ye Wu rubbed his sister's head and asked her not to blame herself. Ye Wu actually said it was my fault for not managing to return on time and ultimately making them all suffer. Ye Yunfei cursed and regretted being poisoned. This girl said if only she wasn't poisoned then I could participate in the dungeon competition at her school tomorrow. Even though the girl really wanted to take part in the competition and win. That way I could use the bonus to improve their families' lives. But now I can't participate in the competition and still owe 300,000 yuan. Hearing about the competition made Ye Wu excited. He asked if it was a competition held by the school every year. Ye Wu heard that the bonuses given for the competition were very large. Ye Yunfei confirmed her brother's words. It is rumored that the bonus for this year will reach 500,000. Ye Wu became even more excited when he heard that. Then this young man told his sisters to carry out the treatment calmly and leave the money and competition matters to me. Ye Wu was determined to win and get that bonus. The next day on campus, all the students gathered in the very spacious main hall. The committee welcomes all students who wish to take part in their university's annual competition. There must be rumors about the large number of bonuses that will be received. This time the committee will make it clear that these rumors are true. This year's starting bonus reached 500,000. And according to the level of completion, additional bonuses will be added without any restrictions. Hearing this, all the students immediately cheered very happily. The committee then explained why this year there is such a big bonus. That's because there is a sponsor from the Manhwa group. Right after the organizers said this, Miss Mo appeared on stage with her two aides. The organizers asked everyone to applaud Miss Mo. Of course, all the students immediately cheered and applauded enthusiastically for Miss Mo and the Manhwa group. They praised Miss Mo's dazzling beauty. Then the committee enthusiastically announced that the final winner of the competition could immediately enter the Manhwa group without selection. Hearing this, all the students became even more excited because they knew that the group was in the top 10 on the dungeon score list. According to them, compared to bonuses, this is the biggest and most priceless gift. Some even say that entering the Mo group is the same as going to the top of the world. Ye Wu, who was standing among the disciples, thought that he had long heard about the competition between the major groups being extremely fierce. But he just found out that the eldest miss wanted to choose a talented child from the university. Although it looked impatient, it didn't matter because Ye Wu's main goal was the bonus. After that, the committee showed a giant hologram screen and informed all the students that the dungeon competition this time was a shadow forest which had an average monster level of 5-10. Some students were surprised to hear the name of the shadow forest, because that place is the highest level dungeon in their university, and it is said that the place was never successfully cleaned by the students. Moreover, the lowest monster in that place is at level 5. Meanwhile, the average level of students at that school is only 5. Ye Wu actually thought that the final boss of the dungeon was a shadow tree elf whose tree monster level looked very terrifying because its size was towering like a tall building. Wu smiled happily seeing the monster because he had already thought about smelling the bonus money. The committee asked children not to worry because even though the dungeon is very difficult, the model also has two mechanisms, namely PvP and PvE. PvP means players can attack fellow players or fight with opposing teams, while PvE means player versus environment, which requires players to fight against monsters around the dungeon environment. Based on that, this competition will allow students to form teams with a maximum of 5 people. All the students cheered again because they felt they had a chance to win. They thought that if they could work together as a team, then a level 10 tree elf wouldn't be difficult to defeat. But on the other hand, there are some students who think that the method of fighting fellow players can be very difficult. So they had to guard against sneak attacks from other teams at all times. From all these methods, Wu drew the conclusion that the school wanted to train them in actual combat and survival skills. One of the students suddenly raised their hand and asked how to determine the winner if they were on the same team. The very eccentric principal explained that this competition was still collecting points for each individual, but the points obtained from defeating the tree fairy shadow would be divided equally within the team. So the tree elf has the highest points, so victory can only be achieved for the team that has attacked it. The principal also provided additional information that in order to make all students feel the atmosphere of a real battle, they could take the other team's points and make them their own points. But the majority of students immediately thought it was a very cruel rule, because it is the same as encouraging the desire to kill each other among fellow students. But the principal ignored his students' worries and immediately opened the dungeon gate while saying that the competition had started now. All participants were immediately busy looking for their team members. But as usual, no one wanted to be on the same team as Wu. They even mocked the young man as trash who was still allowed to participate by the school. They even cruelly asked the other disciples to be careful if Wu joined their team. Wu chose to leave the students who mocked them, thinking that even if they begged me in the future, I didn't want to be on the same team as those people. Besides, he didn't want the extra burden, so I thought it would be easier to travel alone. Wu immediately approached a female teacher and said that he wanted to register. The teacher asked where the young man's team was. Wu answered firmly that he was alone, so the teacher could immediately register me. The teacher was worried because the young man was only at level 3. She thought it was too dangerous to go alone, so she advised Wu to choose a partner carefully. Suddenly Luo Feng appears and tells the teacher not to pay attention to Wu. In my opinion, the young man is just trash, so the young man should go in there and be sacrificed. 2 of Luo Feng's colleagues appeared and immediately told Wu to apologize to Luo Feng for yesterday's incident. They also provoked Luo Feng into beating Wu again. The blonde man said that Wu was once his older brother, so he would help so that Wu wouldn't be pushed around too much. So Luo Feng asked Wu to sleep on the ground and bark like a dog. If Wu was willing to do that, then Luo Feng was willing to take him into the dungeon. Luo Feng's 2 colleagues immediately laughed with satisfaction when they heard their boss's words. Unexpectedly, Wu asked how to bark. Luo Feng quickly imitated the sound of a dog barking. So after that, it was Wu's turn to laugh restrainedly. It was at this moment that Luo Feng realized his stupidity. Luo Feng quickly raised his arm and prepared to hit Wu, who dared to trap him. But suddenly the registrar's teacher immediately blocked them. The female teacher said if they want to fight, then fight again dungeon, because they will not receive points if they fight in the school area. Hearing the teacher's words made the blonde man annoyed and finally suppressed his anger as he walked into the dungeon. Before actually entering the dungeon, Luo Feng turned to Wu and asked the black hair bleacher not to run away from me, because I would love to wait for Wu's head in the dungeon. This time, Wu casually said that there were no obscure words in his dictionary. After Luo Feng and his group entered the dungeon, Wu asked the teacher if he could get the entry card. The female teacher handed over a card while saying that Wu's courage was commendable, but in the end, he still depended on his strength of speech. Since Wu insisted on entering the competition, the teacher could only wish the young man good luck. After receiving his entry permit, Wu entered the dungeon with a serious face. This young man hoped he would have a very enjoyable show inside the dungeon. Just before Wu entered the dungeon, Miss Mo watched him carefully and realized that this young man was the person she met at the black market yesterday. In his opinion, Wu was very interesting because not only was this young man still at level 3, but he had dared to enter the black market and even dared to enter dungeon 5-10 alone. This beautiful woman was looking forward to what was behind Wu's courage. When he finally landed in the dungeon, Wu realized that the starting location of each team entering the dungeon was deliberately random. This is to prevent different teams from being in one place and avoid fighting early on. This was also an advantage for Wu. This young man immediately ran into the dungeon and killed several small spider monsters that appeared in front of him. Wu managed to get 10 points every time he managed to defeat a monster, but he was quite troubled because the area was too big and the monsters were scattered. In my opinion, clearing the monsters one by one takes more time than imagined. This young man realized that if he wanted to win, he had to kill higher level monsters. Ye Wu tried to follow some small spider monsters that were creeping into the bushes. As they continued to be followed, they led Ye Wu deeper and deeper into the forest. Ye Wu was even more shocked when he looked around and found a red web belonging to a red spider. Moreover, above the net, there was a girl who was trapped. The girl named Ruan Tian Tian was unconscious. It seemed the girl had fainted since being captured by the red spider monster. Tianchen slowly opened her eyes, and when she remembered fainting after being attacked by a monster, the girl was suddenly shocked and looked around in panic. Only now did Tianchen realize that she had been captured by the spider monster. The girl tried to scream for help, but Ye Wu climbed to the top of the tree where the girl was caught and immediately asked the girl to be quiet if she didn't want to make the spider monster come back. Tianchen was even surprised to see the appearance of Ye Wu, a level 3 young man who couldn't upgrade. Tianchen asks how Ye Wu got into such a dangerous dungeon. The girl immediately told Ye Wu to go and save herself before the monster returned and attacked. But Ye Wu replied that Tianchen was Ye Yunfei's good friend. If I fail to protect Tianchen, then Ye Yunfei will not spare me. Tianchen sincerely thanked Ye Wu for her kindness, but she insisted on asking Ye Wu to leave. In my opinion, Ye Wu, who is still at level 3, couldn't possibly cut through the spider web and save me. Moreover, defeating a spider monster that had reached 8. Ye Wu smiled when he heard that information. He didn't expect that the elite class spider monster had only reached level 8. Then Ye Wu quickly burned the net in his hand until the entire net was charred. Tianchen was shocked to see that the net burned without hurting me. Ye Wu then told Tianchen to go find a team because it would be very dangerous if the girl went alone. But suddenly, a drop of mucus fell on Ye Wu's shoulder. The young man looked up and saw a red spider monster right above them. Ye Wu quickly pushed Tianchen down to avoid the green slime that the monster spat out. Ye Wu had to act very quickly because the slime was highly poisonous. The two of them fell on a huge spider web bridge. They both panicked and had difficulty waking up because they both fell into a lying position. While they were still struggling to get up, suddenly their bodies were both entangled in spider webs until they stuck very tightly to each other's bodies. In a state of panic like now, Tianchen could only scream frantically. The girl was afraid she would die now. Ye Wu reminded the girl to calm down because if she kept moving, the bond between their bodies would also get tighter. Seeing the condition of his body now, Ye Wu felt like he had been trapped by the spider that was possessing the egg. Ye Wu knew he had the system, but even though his strength had increased, his experience in fighting was still too lacking. And his current condition is too deadly. He had to be more careful and work hard in the future. Suddenly, the red spider monster turned around, leaving the two of them. Tianchen thought that the monster had no appetite to see them, so they could survive. But Ye Wu explained, according to the habits of red spiders, they would lay their eggs in the bodies of people they caught to produce offspring. But since the monster is gone, it means that the egg is probably not ready yet, and will return when the egg is full. Hearing this, Tianchen panicked and became even more hysterical. Tianchen continued to roar hysterically. She writhed frantically until it rubbed against Ye Wu's sensitive area. The young man panicked because if they continued to be trapped like that, something dangerous could happen. Ye Wu also realized, trapped with Tianchen too tightly, if forced to use the firepower of Emperor Kai Yan's account, then it would hurt Tianchen. Finally, Ye Wu decided to cut the spider web manually. Ye Wu tried to bite the net around her, but Tianchen misunderstood and thought that Ye Wu wanted to do something strange to me at a time like this. Ye Wu quickly reminded Tianchen to keep her imagination in check. Ye Wu tried hard to break every net in front of me. He was thankful that the spider web wasn't poisonous and had just been removed, so it wasn't hard yet. At first, Ye Wu tried hard to remove the net by himself, but then he forced Tianchen to help instead of just looking and making strange noises. Finally, the two of them worked together to bite the net around them so that it could be released quickly. They continued to argue throughout this process. Ye Wu was annoyed because Tianchen bit him so often wrongly and kept making strange moaning noises. Even so, they were finally able to escape from the net. Tianchen cried with joy and felt very grateful because she managed to escape. Ye Wu reminded the girl to stop crying and run immediately. Tianchen refused to follow Ye Wu's instructions because my legs were still weak. Unfortunately, there was a noise coming from the bushes, which meant the giant red spider would be back soon. Ye Wu asked Tianchen to go find a team, while this young man would face the red spider monster. A worried Tianchen asks why Ye Wu wants to act like a hero. Even though Ye Wu was a level 3 player, he had to think about his own safety too. According to Tianchen, Ye Wu's life would end in a matter of seconds if he dared to fight the level 8 elite monster. So Tianchen wanted to invite Ye Wu to run together. Ye Wu smiled slyly and firmly said, "I didn't come to that place to become prey to be chased and run away. Its original purpose was hunting. Moreover, I had just been trapped and suffocated by a red spider web, so I wanted to take revenge on that monster." Ye Wu walked to the source of the sound in the bushes while activating the flames on his arms. Finally, a red spider appeared before them. Tianchen panicked seeing such a big monster, but Ye Wu still reminded the girl cruelly not to interfere or get in his way when fighting. Tianchen asked to be allowed to stay to help treat Ye Wu's wounds because she was a level 5 doctor, but Ye Wu didn't pay attention to what Tianchen said. Ye Hao created a huge flame to surround the spider monster's body, then slowly walked towards the monster in a relaxed manner. Ye Wu said he would let out his anger because his family was hurt by the spider monster. Ye Wu immediately took out his flame sword. Seeing that, the spider monster felt a sensation of danger, so it attacked Ye Wu brutally. Ye Wu jumped high enough to avoid the spider monster's attack. This young man even managed to ridicule the ability of the red spider monster, which was not comparable to the ghost eye demon spider that Ye Wu had defeated before. That's because the red spider monster can't talk like the ghost eye demon spider monster. But Ye Wu didn't care about that because he didn't like hearing his potential victims beg for mercy. Then with one swipe of his sword, the spider monster's body split open, and it burned until it died on the spot. The power of Ye Wu's attack was so powerful that it burned part of the forest. Tianchen was even stunned to see the scene before her. She didn't expect Ye Wu to be able to defeat a level 8 elite monster with just one attack. This further strengthened Tianchen's suspicion that Ye Wu could hide his level. The system appeared notifying Ye Wu of successfully killing a level 8 elite monster, namely, and getting 1,000 points. He even got an extra prize of 5,000 experience points. Mr. Tianchen even got 500x points for his participation. The girl was surprised to get quite a lot of points without doing anything. Of course, Ruin Tianchen is very happy now. The girl started to stick to Ye Hao and asked how the young man hit his level. Tianchen excitedly said that she already knew from the start that Ye Wu was a genius who couldn't possibly level up. Tianchen kept clinging, hugging, and forcing Ye Hao to tell her secret. This girl even called Ye Wu the great god to get her wish. But Ye Wu continued to ignore the girl. Ye Wu asked Tianchen to take it off, otherwise, Ye Hao would make the girl disappear. Ye Wu honestly said he was already starting to feel regret for saving Tianchen. This young man cares more about points and achievements. Ye Wu calculated, plus the 1,000 points from the dungeon, that the King System account had gained 5,000 experience points. So according to him, this is very cool. He could level up faster. Ye Wu picked up the items dropped by the spider monster while saying to Tianchen that the girl had earned her points, but the items that dropped were not Tianchen's. So Ye Wu wanted to take them all. Ye Wu asked if Tianchen would mind. Tianchen replied that she didn't mind as long as Ye Wu was willing to take her to the top. Ye Wu observed each item. He saw a mysterious claw and picked it up. The system explained it was the damaged poisonous glands and tissue belonging to the spider monster, so Ye Wu was entitled to get the battle item as a reward. Ye Wu thought it was good luck. Although no equipment dropped, items like those spider fangs were in great demand on the black market and could be sold quickly. Suddenly the system notified that it had been randomly upgraded to. The effects of this item are that it can cause bleeding, provide poison, and weaken the enemy. Ye Wu was surprised to see that the items dropped by the monsters could be upgraded. He remembered the ring that the ghost eye demon spider had dropped at that time. Ye Wu looked at the ring in the inventory and wondered whether the ring was a legendary item. The system explained the item was a lucky ring that could trigger an effect by randomly increasing the level of the item obtained. Ye Wu was happy that he had a good item that could help him upgrade the items he obtained in the future. Ye Wu wanted to use the ring to equip his item. Ye Wu advised Tianchen to do it alone and don't just look for opportunities. Ye Wu firmly said he didn't want to be seduced. Tianchen replied she was sticking like that not to seduce, she was just scared. Only when near Ye Wu would she feel safe. Tianchen called Ye Wu the great god and suspected that the young man was disguised in front of all the students so that everyone thought Ye Wu was trash. According to her, it was an amazing disguise. Tianchen continued to urge Ye Wu to tell the young man's level. Tianchen was very curious about Ye Wu's true level. Ye Wu resolutely withdrew his arm and asked Tianchen not to ask any more questions, because Ye Wu had his reasons and plans for doing that. If Tianchen still wanted to follow him, then the girl had to keep quiet and keep Ye Wu's abilities a secret from everyone. Ye Wu even threatened Tianchen if the girl revealed her secret. Suddenly several men appeared. They didn't expect that Tianchen was still alive and survived the red spider monster. Seeing the 4 men made Tianchen angry. The girl scolded Lai Yong and the rest of his team. Tianchen asked how could they still dare to come back and see Tianchen after what they did to that girl. Without any guilt, Lai Yong replies that he can go wherever he wants. After all, Tianchen had already been kicked from her team. They threw Tianchen out because they were annoyed that the girl kept babbling about love and magic all day long. If it wasn't because Tianchen was his classmate, Lai Yong wouldn't even bother to take the girl into their team. Tianchen pointed at Lai Yong's face full of anger. The girl said that Lai Yong didn't kick her from the team, but used her as bait to attract the attention of the red spider while Lai Yong got scared and ran away with the rest of his team. So in his opinion, a man like Lai Yong has no right to laugh at other people's dreams. One of Lai Yong's team members finally realized that the red spider monster had lost and was on fire. They were shocked to see that the monster had been defeated even though Lai Yong and his entire team returned to attack the monster together. Lai Yong asks if Tianqian defeated the monster. Tianqian proudly confirmed this. This girl even said she had joined forces with the great god, Yiwu, to defeat the monster. In his opinion, Lai Yong was a despicable criminal who couldn't even use martial arts, so he couldn't possibly be comparable to Yiwu. Lai Yong and the rest of his team laughed when they saw that the figure called the great god by Tianqian turned out to be Yiwu. They laughed with satisfaction and said that the two lovebirds were perfect as a team, seeing that one was trash, and the other was famous for being stupid at school. The four youths were completely satisfied laughing at Yiwu and Tianqian. This made Tianqian furious. He didn't like Yiwu being laughed at like now. Lai Yong and his team were quite upset because they had lost 1,000 points for defeating the red spider monster, but they could find it elsewhere. However, now they believed that it was Ru and Tianqian who had killed the monster rather than Yiwu. Because of this, Lai Yong and his colleagues invited Ru and Tianqian to return to their team. They thought that Ru and Tianqian would be useful to them in the future. Just tetanus, Ru and Tianqian firmly refused. She will no longer want to believe in the nonsense of Lai Yong and others. Lai Yong casually says that they need Ru and Tianqian to just lie down and they will win the fight against the monsters. They wanted Ru and Tianqian to return as bait because that was the greatest contribution the girl could make. Besides, if Ru and Tianqian follows Yiwu, she will only die who knows when. Ru and Tianqian became very angry and asked Lai Yong and others not to insult the great god again. However, suddenly a voice boomed. Ru and Tianqian was very frightened and immediately hugged Yiwu while asking what that voice was. Likewise, Lai Yong and the others immediately turned toward the sound. Lai Yong then explains that it was the roar of the Tyrannosaurus demon, which is an elite monster with 5,000 points. Lai Yong and the others are certainly happy to be able to find such a monster around them. He immediately asked all his friends to go hunt for this monster, which was much more profitable than the red spider. Yiwu immediately prevented those who wanted to meet the Tyrannosaurus demon because that was the same as courting death. Lai Yong certainly wants to know what the man means. Yiwu continues to say that with Lai Yong's current strength, he will only become food for the monster. Yiwu certainly didn't advise them to leave if only to give their heads to the monster. Of course, Lai Yong was very angry when he heard those words. He was ready to kill Yiwu first, but the other colleagues immediately restrained Lai Yong. They remind Lai Yong not to be influenced by small trash like Yiwu or they will lose their bigger prey. Lai Yong finally chooses to leave, but of course, he threatens Yiwu and says he will not forget what the man said to him. Of course, Ru and Tianqian, who was there, also shouted. He thought Yiwu was too good for them and asked them not to come back, crying to ask Yiwu for help later. After Lai Yong and the others left, Ru and Tianqian invited the man to go around and collect points from the little monsters, which would be much easier. Yiwu finally complied with the girl's wishes. However, the map they were on now was too big and the monsters in it were scattered and the points weren't that big. So, if Ru and Tianqian wanted to collect more points just from small monsters, then it wouldn't be enough for them. Ru and Tianqian finally wanted to know what Yiwu would do under such conditions. Yiwu has plans to follow Lai Yong and others. They will just sit back and wait for the right time to take advantage. Elsewhere, a Tyrannosaurus demon is preying on monsters that are smaller than it. Lai Yong and others who had arrived there could also see what happened. How the monster is fighting with other monsters. That caused the Tyrannosaurus demon to lose 15% of its blood, which would be an advantage for them. However, the other team members started to get scared. He could feel the aura of the demon Tyrannosaurus, which made him feel breathless. The man intended to invite Lai Yong to surrender, but of course, Lai Yong flatly refused. They consisted of 4 level 5 people who should be able to defeat a level 8 elite. The Tyrannosaurus demon was the only rare elite in the dungeon. The devil also certainly holds many unknown treasures. Of course, Lai Yong will not just give up. He encouraged everyone and asked everyone not to worry because he was in the team, so there was no need to be afraid of anything. Lai Yong is determined to work together to kill the demon so that they can enter the top 10 even if they don't kill the final boss. In his heart, Lai Yong still has other plans to find Yiwu and settle their affairs. He also hoped that Ru and Tianqian would take the initiative to hug him as a congratulation on his victory. In his imagination, he could see how Ru and Tianqian hugged him and Yiwu apologized to him for saying something wrong. It's nothing yet. Lai Yong already feels very happy and becomes even more excited. Lai Yong starts running towards the demon and gives the order to attack. They insisted on showing no mercy. However, while they were running, someone suddenly remembered. Tyrannosaurus demons should be black and green, but the one in front of them was red and black. Lai Yong certainly doesn't know what his colleague means. The man then suspected that the devil was angry. It was probably because of the previous battle between the demon and another monster. Of course, Lai Yong was annoyed because his colleague was late in telling him. Meanwhile, their whereabouts were already known to the devil. They suddenly decided to retreat and run. However, the demon attacked first with its huge tail. They were devastated and asked for help. With a burst of flames, the demon immediately burned the bodies of 2 people in Lai Yong's team. Of course, the man was quite shocked to see his 2 colleagues killed instantly. Lai Yong finally saw for himself the extremely cruel demon before his eyes. For him, it was too scary. However, Lai Yong is not afraid at all. Right now, even though the demon's attention was on him, he was still optimistic. Lai Yong has good speed and agility. At least, he could run away and run later if he failed to defeat the monster. Although, the hatred of such a demon would not disappear quickly. He plans to direct the demon's hatred towards other people. At that time, he immediately thought of Ye Wu, who happened to be close to him at that time. It was then that Lai Yong finally found Ye Wu and Reincarnation. In his mind, he could see the 2 people walking leisurely while he was running as hard as he could until he ran out of breath. Reincarnation, who saw Lai Yong's presence, immediately became suspicious. To him, he was just a cunning wolf who liked to run away. Reincarnation immediately suspects that there is another sinister plan Lai Yong is currently trying to carry out. Lai Yong immediately confirms that he did not return empty-handed to meet the 2. Reincarnation was still a little confused at that time. Lai Yong said that he came to give a special gift. Ye Wu, who doesn't know what happened, thinks he will be able to take points easily from Lai Yong, who he thinks has succeeded in defeating the monster. In his mind, Ye Wu still thought Lai Yong moved so quickly because he wanted to make a direct attack. However, he became a little confused because Lai Yong's friends were not there. Lai Yong still runs past the 2 just like that and promises to tell them everything later. He pushed Reincarnation's body and asked the 2 of them to look at the gifts he had prepared. Of course, Reincarnation didn't understand what Lai Yong meant. But suddenly a groan was heard and the Tyrannosaurus demon was already there. Reflexively, Reincarnation attacked the demon first. Of course, Ye Wu was angry because Reincarnation attacked even though the demon was not angry with him. Reincarnation had no intention of attacking the demon first. Now she could only run in fear towards Ye Wu and ask for his help. Seeing the incident, Lai Yong could only laugh at the girl's stupidity. For someone who had never entered a dungeon, what Reincarnation showed was not at all disappointing and comforting to Lai Yong. Lai Yong also wanted to know what Ye Wu would do in such a situation. For Lai Yong, the trash and the idiot in one team is an interesting combination. Lai Yong also mocks and insinuates Ye Wu, who is not arrogant even though he has good fighting skills. For Lai Yong, the man should be grateful for giving the gift. Lai Yong finally chooses to leave and let Ye Wu fight the demon. He also said he would come back to collect Ye Wu's body after the Tyrannosaurus demon killed him. Ye Wu could hear Lai Yong's laughter gradually fading away. At that moment, Ye Wu immediately grabbed hold of the air. He certainly will not let Lai Yong go easily. A surprised voice sounded. Ye Wu continued again that he had just met the careless Reincarnation. The girl's existence was completely worthless to him. However, compared with Reincarnation, Lai Yong is more worthless. Lai Yong was certainly very surprised because it turned out that Ye Wu was able to find out where he was even though he had used a move to make himself completely invisible. Ye Wu casually said that Lai Yong's strength level was not high at all. After all, he was only invisible and not completely gone. For Ye Wu, the man could still be seen in her eyes through the body heat he gave off. Lai Yong was even more surprised because Ye Wu could feel someone's presence just by his body heat. Of course, Lai Yong still finds it hard to believe, but then he begs Ye Wu to release the man's grip on his neck. He reminded Ye Wu that he was the son of Ye Wu's uncle. Lai Yong also asks Ye Wu to immediately let him go because the demon Tyrannosaurus is getting more and more violent and could cause them all to die by then. Ye Wu disdains Lai Yong's words and immediately displays his immense power. Lai Yong was of course very surprised and didn't expect that a trash like Ye Wu could increase his strength to such a degree. Lai Yong, who realized Ye Wu's strength, immediately asked the man to join him as a team to kill the Tyrannosaurus demon. He admitted that he needed points and equipment. Of course, Ye Wu easily rejected it. In his opinion, Lai Yong is a shameless man. However, he said he would consider it if Reincarnation, who was by his side, allowed it. Lai Yong immediately begged Reincarnation, who was still scared. He was a classmate and he was also the one who brought Reincarnation into the dungeon. At that time, Reincarnation was impressed by Ye Wu's domineering attitude, which made her heart beat. At that time, Lai Yong begged again. He tried to seduce Reincarnation by saying that she was a beautiful and kind girl. He still begs to be on the same team as Ye Wu even though Reincarnation no longer wants to be on the same team as him. However, this time Reincarnation has absolutely no interest in forgiving Lai Yong. She invited Ye Wu to leave there and leave the cruel man. Lai Yong still tries to plead and realizes that he should not use Reincarnation as bait. He admitted guilt and asked to be given a chance. At that moment, the growl of the Tyrannosaurus demon was heard again. He had become very angry. Reincarnation was confused about what to do. They were worried because the demon's strength was much greater than theirs. However, Lai Yong used this opportunity to make a move. He planned to kill Ye Wu with a deadly move that was full of determination.